Hi everyone, welcome back to the Power of a Hobby. I'm your host, Dom Fenton, and today I have another guest. Hi Mac, how are you?
I'm marvellous, thank you. And you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Thank you for being on here. For people that don't know who you are and what you do, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. Tom Magic Mac or Makanka Malenga, and I'm a copywriter who help businesses with their words and write sexy words that give you to more sales. Yes, that's what I do for a living, and I love it. Been doing it for 5 years.
Do a one-to-one or we have a meeting. Most of the time we just laugh and we just have fun. And but you can tell that through what you do with your work and how you are with your work. Um, and it's going to be really interesting to find out also, if that works with your hobbies. So, Mac, um, why don't you um, why don't you tell people what your hobby is?
So my hobby is going to a lovely, steamy environment, and I get perplexed and I look through the vision of a vortex known as a kitchen. My hobby is cooking.
I'm so glad you said that. And everyone, this is why Mac all he does is play on words, and this is why we generally just sit here laughing the whole time. So, but hopefully you'll be able to get something out of this podcast. So, cooking. Talk to me about where it all started. Um, yeah, start. Let's start at the beginning.
So the beginning was that why I started to cook was because I had the visions of being a 30-year-old guy who had to wait for his partner, don't even have one yet, but partner to cook and come back home and cook him dinner. I used to watch those programs when a guy would be like, "Honey, I'm home. Honey, I'm home," and a lady would have his dinner on the table. I thought that's gonna be hell, like a bland meat and potato dinner, and I was like thinking, I don't want that. I actually, and good food, because I'm from an African family, food bring people together. It brings people together, um whether it's birthday celebrations, weddings, christenings, um, anniversaries, whatever it is. No one will ask about what the bride's wearing. No one will ask about who's going here, who did you see, who did you see wearing this, that, the other. People ask, what would the food like? That is the most important thing ever. So I got into food because I just love the power that food has to bring communities into one. You can explore somebody else's community and understand them through food. So learning how to cook was my way into different community, different environment, and different things, and it also helped me stay healthy and relaxed. It's a good thing to relax with.
Uh, and as you can, and I think actually you're spot on. And I think a lot of there's so many adults now that can't cook.
Mm.
There's when did you actually start? Was it at home as a child? Who started getting you into cooking?
So I so what would the I I first my grandma came to visit from Zambia, and she was cooking in Shima and cooking other things, and I was like about 11, and she was showing me how to cook stuff. Kind of remember, kind of don't, but she would let me have a little stir of the pot and things like that. And then when it came to like school, I learned how to cook. Well, do you want the public relations answer or do you want the real answer?
We're on a podcast. Let's go for the real answer. Let's go for it.
So I had an interest in cooking because I like food. I love food. However, when you're a young boy of like 14 and it come to your GCSE options, you're going to either pick woodwork, which looked all right, but I knew how to hammer things anyway. I'm okay with hammering things. Or you have this long line full of ladies, and and you're like thinking, okay, I'll go and do food tech with these. I'll go and do food technology and join the ladies. Oh, one out of two boys in a class of 30, I think 30, yeah. But I wanted to cook, and I thought it would be an easy GCSE to pass food tech. But when I got in there, guess what? Guess what we did the least of? Guess.
Cooking.
You're right. We had to look at ingredient labels. What makes food go off? I've even forgotten half the stuff, to be honest, because it's that ancient. But I don't know. And you know, it was so funny because at home, I don't think my mum trusted me with cooking. She let me cook a little bit, but she wouldn't trust me with cooking like main meals and things like that. Because I was probably awful, if I'm being honest. Probably shockingly bad. But you know, I think, how old am I now? I'm 35. So let's rewind to about 2002. That's when people like Jamie Oliver, you know, like this, why? Just chuck it all in, mate. Yeah. Lovely jubbly, blah, blah, blah. You know, actually, it started being cool for a man to cook and things like that. And I thought, you know, it's a skill that I wanted to learn. And, you know, it's a skill that's been quite integral to my life.
Oh, I love that. And thing is, I think now people can see what the rest of this podcast is going to be like. Especially if you watch it on the video, especially if you watch this on YouTube, because all you'll just see is these big grins and these big smiles from both of us, and just trying to hold it together. But you know what? That's what happens.
Mm.
And actually, you know, a lot of what we talk about on the podcast is about the power of a hobby. And
Mm.
actually, what I didn't do, because actually I just thought let's get into it now. If I came to you and said, what does the power of a hobby mean to you? How would you what would you just say? How would you describe it?
So the power of a hobby to me is something that boosts your well-being and your confidence, because those things in society are missing people's confidence and well-being, and it gives you a form of self-love. So you know, you start to, as you gain a few more skills and you start exploring your hobby, whether it's a new cookbook, a new recipe that you want to try out, or a new restaurant that you want to try out, a new cuisine, you become an adventurer and you become a bit more open-minded. So when it comes to hobbies, the power is more of a connection based ideal. So when it comes to things like cooking, if you want the easiest way to connect with a new culture, or whether it's a date, whether it's a friend, or you know, or whether it's somebody you don't know. Let's say it's a stranger in a restaurant, and you see something interesting. You say, "Oh, what are you eating? What have you chosen? Is it good? Are you enjoying it?" Things like that. Because I think hobbies make people become more curious, more inquisitive, and they make people delve into themselves more. Like, you play rugby, Dom, don't you?
Yeah.
So when you're on the rugby pitch with the guys, it's not actually about the rugby. I played for a little while, more of a social guy, but they'll stick me out on the wing and they go and smash that guy. But you know, from rugby, from like let's say from rugby, you get lots of things. You get brotherhood, you get confidence, you get fitness, you get well-being, you get 14 other guys who would come to your defense if you got into emotional or physical turmoil. And these are things that I think society is missing as a whole. That
Yeah, just love that.
mm,
And again, I think it's the power of a hobby is can be such a varied answer.
mm,
So I would tend to say that on every single podcast there will be it's an individual answer.
mm,
But actually what they do all tend to do is come together as around well-being,
mm,
around connection, is around interaction, because actually as humans we want to be connected to other people.
mm,
And obviously with food and culture,
mm,
we are a global society,
mm,
and actually, as you say, the one of the best ways to connect with the different cultures, look at food.
mm,
So actually we're not just talking cooking within this, we're talking actually food, and we're talking a way that actually we can bring things closer together,
mm.
which for me is just really, really powerful. So in terms with yourself, obviously started as younger. Can you remember what your first thing that was that you cooked?
So first thing that I cooked.
Because mine would probably be 2 slices of toast.
Oh,
You know,
oh,
or it was tell you what, no, it was Angel Delight.
mate.
So pour the milk in, whisk it, put it in the fridge.
So I
You know,
think I, I'll be honest. So to get to a level of competency, you've got to have a few disasters. So I'll go through the disasters that I had.
yeah, go on then.
So I cooked a potato boulanger. Now, now we had to cook this at school, and for some reason, it passed. It passed. The teacher let it pass. I don't know why. She should have failed
Was
me.
it a good? Was she having a good day then?
This was a different teacher. She had.
She was
She
all
must.
right, that one.
I must have charmed her with the big brown eyes or something. And I said, "Oh, please take pity on me. I'm a poor African boy," and things like that. But I look at what is it? I looked at the potato boulanger, and do you know when you like a potato gratin, you're meant to have nice sliced potatoes, and they're meant to be all like layers and layers of potato. No, this was like big chunks of potato, uncooked. The milk didn't even seep through. The milky, creamy sauce did not even seep through to the potato. So I was like, "Oh, Dad, have a try of this." And my dad was eating it like an encouraging dad would. He ate it. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is
Raw potato and milk.
it wasn't raw, but it was terrible. So I had that as a disaster. However, but like a lot of things, that would a thing that I could. But what did I cook? That would one of the best things. Oh, spaghetti bolognese. Now I thought I'd cooked something. It would, this was not a disaster. But now I look back on it, I'd I think I could have done better. The other thing about cooking that I enjoy, it it takes you away from this, takes you away from your phone, and you have to have patience. You have to have. It's almost like meditative. So you have to really be calm, or else the food will not taste good. If you're not calm, and you don't take everything. Breathing slowly, making sure everything it done to perfection, not perfection, but everything done on time, and you're watching and tasting and adjusting and things like that. You'll make a mess.
So talk to me about this spaghetti bolognese then.
So, do you know what? I'll admit, before, you know, was it really from scratch, or may I have got some help from Mr. Schwartz? Schwartz packet sorted. Do you know when you put in some tomatoes and then you put in the Schwartz packet salt, and then it suddenly tastes really good. And then a few years later, you realise, actually, this is all garbage that I'm putting there. all they've put in is a bit of corn flour and some seasoning in there. So, but it tasted, everyone thought, oh, this tastes really good. It tasted actually quite good. And then I think what opened me up to cooking more was when I went abroad, when I was a student. And I went abroad to the US, and I was dating someone. She was from Korea and things like that, and she opened me up to Korean cooking and things like that. And she cooked some Korean food, and I was like, wow, different flavored. Tried kimchi. Have you ever tried kimchi before?
No.
So let's say it like sauerkraut, like really
Right,
sour
okay.
and bitter. First time I tried it, I was like, I'm trying to be polite and things like that, and it was, it took me about 4 attempts for me to go, okay, I can eat this, I can taste all
So it
the
was a bit of an acquired taste at the beginning then. Let's put it that way.
a bit like beer.
Yeah. You have to get to the right one.
Yeah.
You have to
No,
find what works for you.
I haven't found the right one. I'm teetotal.
Exactly.
So I've
Yeah,
never found...
Yeah.
I've not found the right beer yet, but it's an acquired taste. But yeah, so what things that I was shown? So I was shown different flavored from the east and things like that. Spiced, like, you know, gochujang, which is nice and warming on the throat and things like that, and fiery Korean. When I used to eat meat, like fiery Korean KFC, fried chicken, really nice. But then, this is the funny thing about eating with different cultures. So I would go out to Korean restaurant with my mate, all Koreans, and me being from Britain, and me also being black, so I'd stand out like a sore thumb. Anyone who's listening to this, yeah, I'm black, yeah. So I'd stand out like a sore thumb. But what made me stand out like a sore thumb is they'd be eating with chopsticks, and Mac would ask for a fork. Put my hand up, could I have a fork, please?
Yeah, I've done that.
And this happened like several times with, and my best mate, Jay, he said, we're in Miami, and I think we'll get some sushi or something, or some Japanese food. And I asked for a fork, and it, you know, like a best mate does, he called an intervention. If you this is the test for a best friend or a good mate, they will call an intervention. So he said, Mac, you've got Asian friends. You're dating an Asian lady. You really need to learn how to use chopsticks. So I had lessons, being taught how to use chopstick by my mate in South Beach. And as soon as I did that, though, it almost opened a different world to me because I'm not scared of, you know, eating at different places where they don't have forks. When I went to China to go and live and work, I was able to eat with chopsticks. So yeah, that opened me up to a different way of living and things like that. And you get an insight into somebody else's culture, and you go, oh, that's pretty. You know, sometimes you think asking for a fork, it can be a bit. It's not embarrassing, but you have to attempt to.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, because I still at times use a fork in Chinese
Yeah.
and go to other places, and everyone else is there sitting there with their chopsticks, and can I have a spoon and fork, please?
Oh, and you think, and the funny thing is, so when I was like dating this lady, I would eating with my chopstick like really slowly, like try not to spill anything everywhere, because I'm probably wearing white shirt because it's date night, isn't it? So it's a white shirt. Wrong idea if you're having like red food to wear a white shirt on a date night. But I'd be like trying not to eating noodles like really slowly, like
Not slurping them up and just dripping everywhere.
And then I see her, and she'd like by the time I've finished, she'd be like, she'd like, come on back. What's happening? She's looking at me like, oh, but then she's going, oh, Mac, that's so cute. Meaning, you need to hurry up.
Yeah, that's the polite way, isn't it? That's definitely the polite way. I just think, to be honest, even just doing this podcast with you, there's things that I've learned about you tonight that I never knew, and I think that's the beauty of doing these sort of podcasts. I think that's of learning about people's hobbies. You know, the fact is you went to America to live, or the fact you went to China to live, and all these. So actually, you're someone that's really travelled around the world. And actually, when we're talking about, because a lot of people go, oh yeah, cooking brings us together, and it does. And you know, I'm conscious that, you know, I want my girls to learn, and if they ask, I let them get involved in cooking. And I'm no major chef, but I can do the basics well. And actually, at the moment, you know, part of what I do outside of this podcast is I'm traveling a lot. So I tend to be in hotels a lot. So I'm only cooking sort of half the week. But cooking's a real interesting one for me, because I think actually food is such an important thing.
Yeah.
And actually to have someone in a state where actually they've gone home after a bad day, and actually to find food and cooking therapeutic and have your moment of peace, and just being able to throw something all together, and just you're creating something, you know, you're creating stuff from you're creating new things, or you're able to try different things. It is a real powerful thing, and I've never really looked at it like
that. Yeah, I think it opened up, especially as I'm a copywriter and things like that. I think we always think that we're not creative unless we can, you know, we can draw like Picasso, or we can, you know, sing like an opera singer or something, or we have great slogans on billboards. We're like thinking, I'm not creative. But it's the everyday actions, like cooking, that make us creative. So when you go into the fridge and it's payday, it's like 50 15 days till payday, and you've got like one maybe on the edge. We won't call it moldy, on the edge. a few things that are on the edge. You've got to create something, and it is possible that the mind can create something that's beautiful, that's nourishing, that's fulfilling, and that's an important thing that I think cooking had taught me.
Love that. Absolutely love that. Right. Just so I don't hold up any more of your time, final question that I ask all my guests. So if someone came to you and said they'd like a hobby but they don't really have one, and they don't really know how to get started, what would you say to them?
I think when it comes to hobbies, you have to try a number of things. You just have to throw yourself in. Like, I've thrown myself into learning boxing, going to boxing. And as people will know, I'm not the kind of guy who wants to have a fight. But I know that in life, you might have to have a fight. And you might have to defend yourself, and you might have to protect yourself. So it just brings a different level to your life. So try as many things as possible. Go to a salsa class, go to anything that, that look interesting. And if you say I'm not, I'll be going on my own, I'll be the only one on my own. Guess what? There'll be other people on their own too. Don't wait for a friend to say, "Oh, I'll come with you." No. Go by yourself and try different things. And like cooking, I tried lots of things, failed lots of times. But having said that, all the failure will never ever see the light of Instagram. So, however, when it comes to like, cooking for family, cooking for, let's say, a woman, or cooking for anybody, or cooking when it comes to cooking for my kids, it's a way how to, connect with others. So get yourself out there, get yourself trying new things, trying new hobbies, listen to podcasts like this, because the power of a hobby, there's so many hobbies that, what's a hobby that's been on that you didn't know existed, Don?
Oh, well, even things like beekeeping.
Yeah.
Or keeping bird aviary.
So,
there's so many that, and this is what I love about this, is actually they're all different.
So you've got a starting point with this podcast. You listen to other people's experiences about what they're doing, what their lives have been, how they've been impacted. And once you look at how their lives have been impacted, you can, think, maybe I'll try it. And even if you're not a fan of it, the best thing about life is when you try something, because it opens up another new door.
Powerful. Love that. What a way to finish. Open up a new door. Because actually that's what it's about. You do hobbies, you never know who's there. You never know who you're going to meet.
Yeah.
So, no, love that. Mac, thank you so much for your time.
Absolute pleasure, Dom. Absolute pleasure.
It's been, the time's gone really quickly.
I hope
have to check.
I hope I'm not cancelled.
You won't be cancelled. There is no doubt about that. Thank you so much for your time, Mac. Thanks everyone for tuning in, whether that's via the podcast on Spotify or whether that's YouTube. And I will see you again on our next episode.